Welcome to Senate Minerals, Friday, March 1st. We're in room 4 of the Capitol Extension to hear House Joint Resolution 3, engross support for local input in federal rulemaking. Presentation today by Representative J.T. Larson. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the Minerals Committee. Today I bring House Joint Resolution 3, its support for local input in federal rulemaking. Members, this stems from a lot of events that have been happening in Southwest Wyoming pertaining to the Bureau of Land Management, as well as various other rulemaking that the federal government agencies have been imposing on Wyoming that are truly unfavorable to our industries. So I'll just go through the bill here and kind of explain each point in the resolution, I should say. Okay. So page 1 at the bottom, starting on line 9, it just kind of describes that there's a NEPA process that the federal government uses to prepare environmental impact statements that impact the quality of the environment. And then going on to page 2, the Federal Land Policy and Management Act requires the Bureau of Land Management to develop land use plans, including resource management plans, and seek cooperating state and local government input to manage the public lands and resources in accordance with principles of multiple use and sustained yield. And so we're kind of just laying out the groundwork here. And then we start on line 8 with some proposed rules for conservation and landscape health and fluid and mineral leases and leasing processes. And then we go to line 12. The BLM has proposed a draft resource management plan and environmental impact statement for the Rock Springs planning area, covering surface land and mineral estate in portions of Lincoln, Sweetwater, Uinta, Sublette, and Fremont counties in southwestern Wyoming. And then the House Minerals Committee added this next section on line 18. And it's just saying that the BLM may propose future resource management plans and environmental impact statements that negatively affect Wyoming, just to kind of cover our bases. And then starting on line 22, the USDA has proposed the land management direction for old growth forest conditions across the national forest system and cites the rule. And then on line 4 on page 3, we had changed the word has to had, and that's because the New York Stock Exchange had filed the United States Securities and Exchange Commission a proposed rule to amend the proposed manual for adopted standards for natural asset companies, and so they withdrew that. And but we also just want to make sure that we were paying attention to that and cite that specific regulation that they had proposed. And then this on page 3, line 9, this is kind of a catch-all statement for any proposed rules that may negatively affect Wyoming, including Wyoming's agriculture, energy, mineral, and recreation industries. And then we go on to the resolution where it says that we support meaningful state local government involvement in drafting and developing proposed federal rules, and that the members of the legislature commit to oppose the aforementioned similar proposed federal rules, and the members of the legislature commit to section 3 commit to oppose the 4 aforementioned or similar proposed federal rules. And then section 4 directs the Secretary of State of Wyoming to transmit copies to the relevant department heads within the federal government and the president, as well as the Speaker of the House of the Representatives and the President of the Senate.
Representative Larson, support meaningful state and local government involvement, drafting, developing proposed federal rules. We've been working a lot on this in the Southwest, but in other places too, forest management and so forth. Where have we fallen short? Where does this resolution take us a little deeper into the process?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, the challenge that we've had specifically with the Rock Springs Resource Management Plan is there was a lot of local and state involvement in the early stages through the process of drafting that plan, but it seems that the agency that dealt with that kind of went a different direction when they released the draft EIS. And so this is kind of us trying to address the fact that we are involved with these actions that the federal government is trying to make, and they're kind of taking their own direction with the rules that they propose. So that's kind of what this is trying to address.
Committee questions for Representative Larson? No questions? Okay. Did you bring any? You are so lonely today. That's it. Very good. No one else in the room? Anybody on the line? Okay. Representative Larson, anything else you want to say as a wrap up?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't think I have anything else to add, but I appreciate your aye vote on this.
Okay. Committee, what's your pleasure? Moved? Seconded? Any further discussion? Go ahead.
Very briefly on page 5, line 3. The language says the Director of the Department of the Interior. It's my assumption that's supposed to be the Secretary of the Department of the Interior.
Representative Larson?
Okay. I would move to amend.
Okay. Agreeable, Representative Larson? Okay. Secretary of the Department of Interior, correct? Okay. Good catch.
Question on the amendment.
Second? Moved and seconded. All those in favor of the amendment?
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Now Secretary. Any further notes?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
And I'm going to be a no on this, and not because I don't support the concept, but with resolutions, one of the challenges is always trying to support every word of the resolution. And rather than trying to wordsmith it to support every word of the resolution, I think it's got 3 votes. So I'm just going to be a no unless there seems to be other no votes. And at that point, I'll start trying to wordsmith it to get to the point where I support every word of the resolution.
Okay. Any further?
Mr. President, or
Go
Mr.
ahead.
Chairman. Normally, I don't care for resolutions, but I think they serve a good purpose of telling people we're taking them off their Christmas card list is basically what they do. But I really do appreciate this one and where it's headed, and I thank them, the good representative, for bringing it forward.
Okay, thank you. Been off a few of those lists myself. Okay. All right, anything else? Let's take a roll call.
Senator Kupu.
Aye.
Senator Ellis.
She left an aye.
Senator Jones.
Aye.
Senator Rothfuss.
No.
Chairman Dockstader.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, that is 4 ayes and 1 no.
Okay, thank you.
We do that.
That's it. Okay,
Good job, JT.
we are delayed, so, and we have no other bills, but we'll start to gather up. Yes, thank you, Representative Larson. Good job. Thanks for rushing down. But you have a list of our interim topics somewhere for us?
Mr. Chairman, we will get them they're due by 4 o'clock today.
Okay,
And we will put them all together, organize them and send them out.
appreciate the help on that. Okay, we'll get those. We plan to start working on those next week and whatever else the House sends us our way.
Mr. Chairman, are we going to meet ahead of time ourselves to talk about those?
1
or-
o'clock. At this point, no, and we'll come back in at 1. When were you planning on getting back into town?
I'm happy to come back at noon, honestly, if we want to take an hour to talk about it, once we've got all of the interim topics ready and to talk amongst ourselves. We can do it informally. I mean, we're not taking any action. We're not taking any action, so it would just be,
That's fine, as long as you don't take any action.
Up to judiciary. Yeah, starting. I got 4 weeks.
and we don't have to, we can do it later and we can notice it too. Do it later, no problem, yeah.
But as soon as I get that list.